Hebben we een hot mic nu?
Ja.
Okay, welcome. Welcome to the, I think, second Lisk Community meetup after summer. We had a short break of 2 weeks due to some circumstances, but we are back now with Peter Nobels in the studio here.
Thanks for having me.
And we are going to talk about the Lisk DAO project that we did with a couple of people from Lisk Center Utrecht under the lead of Peter. And we will begin with some short introductions. So if you are new to the channel, then we always talk about things that are going on within the Lisk community, mostly about proof of concepts, ideas, and we'd like to share and work together. So let's start with some personal questions. Who are you, Peter? How do we know each other?
Well, we know each other from, I had an assignment at the University of Applied Science in Utrecht, where I supported students. I was accountable for the blockchain lab, and with students we made proof of concepts, and you gave us the opportunity to have a workspace here, and that's the way we met. Yes?
Yeah, indeed.
And afterwards, different situations, different places, seminars.
So are you still with the university?
No, not anymore. They hired me. I worked at a consultancy firm, Society, which I left 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Because the reason I left the company was because I started my own company with 3 partners. And we are going to build blockchain applications mostly for healthcare is our objective. Yeah.
Yes. We talked about it a couple of times. It's called Vitality.
It's called Vitality. Yes.
Do you already have a website online?
We have a website online, vitality.nl. Yeah.
Cool.
Vitality was double L. Yeah.
And so today you are of course invited for a specific proof of concept, which is not specifically aimed at Vitality.
No. But perhaps you never know, we can use it, the results.
Yeah, how would that work?
Well, we are aiming to build platforms for healthcare, to improve ecosystems. And when you have an ecosystem with different partners, different stakeholders, different parties, there's also a governance question involved. To who does the platform belong? How do you decide upon changes? More of that stuff. And you don't want to end up like the new Google, the new Facebook. So we are planning to have a governance body which is formed by different parties, which can be supported by a DAO. Yeah, when you have a governance body, you have governance issues, and a DAO can be supportive to that governance body.
And would this DAO already be able to do that for you?
Well, perhaps we can use it for a pilot to learn, but I think we need to make more steps to make it a more grown-up product at this DAO. Yeah.
Yes,
but it's promising.
And besides, maybe you can tell something more about your experience within the blockchain ecosystem before today.
Yes, that's something more. Well, when I go way back, I'm some gray hairs. I'm longer in the IT business alignment space. What I noticed, I started as a programmer long time ago, and I did a career path to project management, building and improving business processes. And I found out there's so much technology improvements going on that I decided to take a dive back in technology. And while I was involved in business process improvement, in multi-stakeholder projects, blockchain was a good candidate to improve those processes and those multi-stakeholder environments. So I decided to take a deep dive in blockchain. And my first assignment in the blockchain space was at the University of Applied Science. And while being there, I also represent them in the Dutch Blockchain Coalition. That's how we met also.
Yeah.
So I was involved in the Dutch Blockchain Coalition as a participant, also in ISO standardization in blockchain, and some more initiatives. Yeah. Is that an answer to your question?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we can switch over to the proof of concept.
Okay. I hope my presentation, our presentation, which I made, but it was a real team effort, this proof of concept. So I like to share credits to Jurre, to Rafael, and the others. I will name them in a few minutes. Is my presentation online? Okay, so I can trust on that. Well, this is the first slide. It says Lisk DAO next level communities. And the DAO, we have built a building block of the DAO. The DAO is our envisioned future. And step by step, it's also it says it at the bottom, start building, learn, and improve. And this was our first step into the DAO space. And I will introduce you to what we made in a few minutes. This is going to be a dual presentation. I will take the part more on the conceptual level, and Jurre will take over when it's going something more under the hood and the technical details. But let me introduce you first to the parties who were involved. Vitality is the company I started. Musti, where Rafael and Jurre are working, and Sander, and also blockchain 030. Okay, what's the agenda for today? I start with an introduction of the project team, then the problem definition. Why do we think it's a good idea to build a DAO, and especially this building block? And then part 3 is about the Lisk DAO, the introduction, the conceptual side of it. And 4 will be the demo given by Jurre. And we finish with next steps and questions, if you have questions. So the next step to the future, and well, answering all kind of questions. Okay, this is the project team, Jurre, and you see his focus points. Rafael contributed, Sander, the great developer. Mark, a lot of experience, had some good insights. Xingrong Ding, the design thinker. So when you see the screenshots, he was also involved in improving them. And I was, you just said, it is my project now. It was a real team effort. As you can see, my profile name says management consultant and business developer. So I contributed most from the conceptual side, but we were involved on different issues. So everybody contributed on different aspects. Okay, next slide. Why did we think this was a good idea to build a building block for a DAO? What I see, automation of governance, what a DAO really does, is gaining more and more interest. And one of the big parts in governing a multi-stakeholder environment is the process of voting. When you see current processes, there are some weaknesses. Often they are time-consuming to set up a voting procedure, to vote. Everybody has to go to a certain place, have a ballot. Ballots are counted, results are made public. So when you automate this, we think you can improve a lot. Another thing is that current voting processes are not always inclusive. Especially in the Western societies, we strive to embrace and to include as much as people as possible. In the United States, there's seems to be by some parties to exclude as much as possible voters, and we try to include as much as possible. And we see in current processes there's poor attendance, and sometimes even resulting in invalid votings because the quorum, the number of people who have to minimal threshold to vote, didn't show up. So the voting results to be invalid. And another shortcoming in the current voting process is poor info. When you only can vote yes or no, that is the info you gain. But sometimes you want to have details, not only yes or no. You have something like slide voting. Do you fully agree or partly agree? Or you have dot voting. We have different options to vote upon. You can share your dots. Let's say you have 10 dots. You can share, or you can assign 3 dots to option 1 and 7 to option 2. And it gives you far more details about the opinions of the people who are involved in the voting. And the last one, I think, in my opinion, and our opinion perhaps, many votings are unfair. Now you have the majority and the big money who wins. The more shares you have in a company, or the more people who vote for a specific option, then the result is often a totally yes and totally no for option 2. Where you can also say, well, let's say 70% is in favor of option 1. Let's give 70% of the budget to option 1. 30% of the voters say option 2. Okay, let's give 30% of the budget to option 2, and not 100% to option 1, and 0 budget to option 2. So these are 4 reasons why we decided to make a building block called voting process. We are not solving these problems yet, but we're making our first steps. Okay, what is our envisioned future? We envision a Lisk DAO, a digital distributed platform for distributed and inclusive governance. What I'm showing today, together with Jurre, who is doing the demo, is not solving or fulfilling this envisioned future, but we are delivering the first building block. Okay, and when you think about governance and you hear me talking about building blocks, what are some of the building blocks you can use to improve governance? Well, voting mechanisms are one, but mechanisms for incentives and rewards can be another building block. Persons who contribute a lot to a specific community can be rewarded or incentivized to contribute more. Another building block can be dispute resolving, and when different parties have different opinions, and you want, not by voting, but along another way, come to a solution. Dispute resolving can be another building block. And roles, in what we are going to show you in our first building block is just one role. Everybody has the same accountabilities, the same responsibilities, but in the future you can make distinctions between roles and responsibilities that comes with roles. Okay, first introduction in what did we make? We make our first building block a one man, one vote voting mechanism. Very simple, but we learn a lot from it, and we have a good basis to build upon and to learn from. Okay, what are the characteristics of this first building block, this first one man, one vote voting mechanism? Each member in the address book is eligible to vote. So when you are in the address book, no distinctions, no different roles. When you're eligible to vote. What we didn't do is an authentication and an identity management automation. And so we know everybody who's in the address book, and you come in the address book because we know you, not because from a distance with a digital identity solution, which can validate if you are the person who you say you are. So we know each other by face, we know each other by name, and then we add you to the address book. We didn't work with voting weight, so everybody has the same, the vote of everybody has the same weight. You can only vote yes or no. Voting can't be scheduled. The moment you make a proposal, the voting starts. And the duration of the voting is fixed, several days. I don't remember the number of days. Perhaps do you know it? No.
I think a week.
A week, yes, indeed. We chose for a week. And also the quorum, so the threshold, the amount of voters is also fixed. And also the voting ratio. We say when 51% of the votes is yes, then a proposal is approved. It's not 60%, not 70%, it's always 51%. And number 8, you need some fee to the blockchain. It's a DAO, it runs on the blockchain. And the nodes want a little bit of fee along with casting a vote. And number 9, our voting is not anonymous. We don't use ballots, which you can use for making to cast your vote. Every vote is known who made the yes or the no. So in this, when you have this list, you can also imagine that the next building block or the next increment of this building block can have some improvements based on this list. Perhaps you have to go for anonymous. Perhaps we have to go for more than yes or no voting. It's up to us. And perhaps up to you if you have ideas. Okay, a little more in depth what the steps are for our voting process. You can make online a proposal. The system reads the new proposals and opens a voting procedure. It signals the eligible voter that the voting is open and shows it to the voters, and then they can cast the vote. After a week, the voting window is closed, and the end result is red, and the outcome is fixed. We don't have follow-up actions yet. Perhaps in the future, when a vote also results in perhaps in allocating funds, allocating budget to persons. And well, the last step is the voting is closed officially, and nothing can be done anymore. And at the bottom, you can read the slogan. Voting is just the end point of decision making, so it's nice to have a result, but then it must be the base to act upon. You have a result, and now you have community who acts upon the results of the voting. Okay, a little more in detail. I'm not going to elaborate on this, but our system contains of services and data stores and data flows. So under the hood, conceptual, there's a little bit more going on than just some steps following each other. Each step results in a change of data, and the data triggers another process, and so forth. Okay, this was the conceptual introduction of our building block and of our governance vision and of our project team. Now I hand it over to Jurre, and give also the pointer, who takes us under the hood and what we realized. Okay, I have to just a moment escape. Going to the next presentation.
Kan ik het misschien zien?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will run through the demo, not by clicking, but using a presentation at first. I will show screens of the demo and also code. Does this work? No, it does not. Can we?
Oh. Shall I leave this one, perhaps?
Don't think it's necessary.
Okay, but why? Start it again.
Can you click once with the mouse on it?
Oh yeah, you are. The
Oh,
end.
we are at
Yeah,
the end.
So
I will go back.
yeah.
So this is a short presentation.
Sneak preview.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to the Lisk DAO presentation, at least from the demo. This is the blog. If you would like to read the blog, I would say just do it. In short, we made a front-end user interface. We made a back-end, which are working custom transactions, which run on a blockchain. And we also created an extension on the HTTP API of Lisk to be able to search for assets, to filter within the assets. So if you look at it, you see the user interface that interacts through the HTTP API with the blockchain. We made several custom transactions. Here you see an address book, base proposal type, base vote, simple proposal, simple vote, etc. There are two transactions which are not used within the blockchain, but we only made them as templates. So the base proposal is a custom transaction, which is the basis of every proposal transaction, and it can be extended to a member or a normal proposal.
Technology. Yeah, the telephone.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me correctly? Should I go on? Okay. So we have seven transactions, and we have two template transactions which can be extended, and therefore we have some custom logic. So this is the explanation. You have basic logic within a template.
Moet ik in Discord? Oké. Ja.
To change the video. Yes, that works probably. And then share the screen.
Oh. Oeh. Waarom zie ik geen share screen staan? Moet ik daarmee hier doen? Oh. Oh, ben ik er nu uit?
Yes, if you click on the channel here.
Yes, the screen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know which window is streaming.
Oké, sluiten. Kon niet worden gestart.
Yes.
Sluiten.
Nog? Ja, en dan eentje aanklikken.
Live gaan.
En dan moeten we weer naar de presentatie toe, denk ik.
Ja. Oké, video. Sorry voor het ongemak, mensen.
En dan moet
Sorry
je-
voor de inconvenience.
Op je mobiel moet je niet Discord openen.
Oh,
want dan
dat was...
vliegt hij eruit.
Ja, ik dacht, ik kijk even mee. Excuse me. Hier,
So, are we...
niets. Dus we moeten weer één keertje...
Ja.
In Discord. En dan... Hier zie je toch.
Ja, hij pakt alleen maar dat scherm. Misschien als je op de presentatie klikt. En dan moeten we even escape, even eruit. En dan weer erin.
Ja, gewoon... Ja, sorry voor de inconvenience.
It happens. So we basically, we have 7, 8 custom transactions. We have 2 template transactions. The templates are with basic logic, and specific logic can be extended with specific logic. For example, the base proposal has basic logic, and per kind of proposal you can add member logic or add vote logic. And it also interacts with an address book always. So let's give an overview, a rough sketch. It starts at the top and it goes to the bottom. So you see like a life cycle of different transactions. Here you see the transactions. The top transaction is address book. Then underneath it's add a member proposal. Then you can vote. And underneath you can join an address book. So on the right side, every transaction has assets. And on the left, you see what it does on the blockchain. So every transaction interacts with the blockchain because that's our end goal. And these things happen. So it can create an account or it can just send data. Let's look at the address book transaction. We see that the address book transaction creates an account on chain, which has its own public key. If we look at our demo, then here you see you are logged in, and on the left side you have an overview of all your DAOs. There's no DAO yet, but you see on the bottom you see create a DAO. So I will create one. I can give it a title, a description, and I also can add founding members. Automatically, if you create a DAO, you are part of the founding member team, so you do not have to add yourself. If we say create DAO, I will have to sign this transaction with my private key. That means that if I do a transaction, I interact with the blockchain and I have to sign myself with my private key that I perform that action. And then probably, hopefully, you will see transaction accepted. It means that something has been sent to the blockchain and it has been accepted. So you see a DAO has been created, in this case with 3 members. And this is what actually happens. On the left, you see the data, the custom transaction itself. And on the right side, you see the data that can be retrieved from the chain. If I look at it quickly, I will speak a little bit, otherwise I cannot read it. So on the left side, you see the assets of the transaction at address book. You see we give the custom transaction gets a type, it gets a name, the address book name. It also retrieves addresses of the specific members. And what you should watch is the nonce. Like the bottom one is a nonce and it is 0. Underneath you see store.account.set, and then the account is being created on the blockchain. So on the right side you see an address book account. You see it has an address, it has a public key, and underneath you see assets. The name of the address book in this case is Heights High. It is type address book. You see a nonce of 1, and you see different addresses which are members. So if we go one further, then if we have an address book, we have 3 founding members, but we would like to add another one. So we have a proposal to add another member. What it does, it creates an account on the blockchain for that specific proposal, and that account is linked to an address book. And while it creates an account on the blockchain, it also it updates the nonce of the address book. So let's take a look at the front end. We see that we can add a member to our DAO, create member voting. We add Peter in this case, of course, because Peter was not part of our DAO yet. We, of course, have to sign that transaction again because we would like to perform it on the chain. It is accepted, and we have a voting. We have a voting to add Peter as a new member in our DAO. What happens is that you have a base proposal custom transaction, but it is extended as an add member proposal. On the left side, you see it creates a public key, or it gets an account on the blockchain. It has certain assets, and at first, the assets on the right side, the add member assets, are imported in this base proposal. And so we have a type add member, we have options which member it is, and on the left you see that it can also contain votes, the status of the proposal. It contains the address book, so it's linked to a specific address book, and also it has the nonce of that address book, and it has the start, the moment it starts. So we retrieve the last block header as a timestamp for the start of the proposal. And underneath you also see that the address book asset is added. So the address book nonce is updated with one number is added to the nonce of the address book. So that means that if a member is added to the address book gets a higher number. The nonce gets a higher number. It is created because if we add a proposal, for example, that we are voting on a specific amount or a budget, for example, so we would like to vote with all of us within the address book, we have a vote. And if we then add a member to the address book, then that person, the new member, is not allowed to vote on our vote we already created.
You can only vote when you are in the address book the moment voting starts.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's what we achieve by updating the nonce.
Yeah.
Simple, but useful. So if we look at the at member transaction itself, we also see that it has the asset, a nonce, and the member and the address book. Not very interesting. And then we have the add member proposal account. So it creates an account on the blockchain. And here we see that it has the asset type, add member, a nonce, start moment. Are votes already cast or not? What's the status of the proposal? At one point, the proposal is finalized and then the status changes. So you cannot update the proposal anymore. So it can also happen that we both create a new vote together at the same time. What happens then is that both our votes will get the same nonce, and then we will have a conflict because we cannot have the same proposals with the same nonce, because it's always one after the other. So then you get an error and you have to perform it again. So what we just saw was a add proposal transaction, which creates an account on the chain, which has its own public key, and it's related to a specific address book. So after we created a proposal to add a member, of course, everybody has to vote. So we have a base proposal to add a vote. I'm not going to into detail in this one. And the vote transaction, it updates the account of the proposal. So it updates the account of the proposal with a certain vote of a certain member. So what happens on the front end, of course, would be like to add Peter as a new member. You can vote yes or no. In this case, we voted yes. The transaction has been accepted. I probably also had to confirm with my private key. And it happens like this. An asset is passed, and the proposal account is updated. So the vote transaction you can see over here. The asset is a certain vote, like 0 or 1, yes or no, a proposal, on which proposal, related to which address book. So here we have a proposal account after one vote. So on the top you see the account has an address book, public key. A little bit down you see the asset is type add member with a certain nonce, and then you see also in the votes one vote has been casted, sorry, and the status of the proposal you see at 1. So after a vote has been done, someone has been accepted or could be accepted, then the person itself has to join the DAO.
Yes.
It's specifically if we would like to perform an action on the blockchain, someone has to fire that action.
Yeah.
So if we add you, then you have to get a signal and you have to click the join button.
Yeah. The proposal results in I'm allowed to join. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And I have to take the action myself.
Yes, exactly.
Because you need a private key to trigger an update of the blockchain.
Yeah, because otherwise we could add you to our DAO, but maybe you do not even want to be in it. So you have to sign with your private key to join our DAO. So we called it the join address book custom transaction. It updates the proposal account. So it sets the status of the proposal to like it's finalized, because that proposal account is finished, and it updates the address book account because you are a new member of the DAO. So how does it work? In our proof of concept, you can click on the specific DAO, and on the right side you get a button join, and this is the join address book. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Here you see the front end, our DAO. On the right side you see the button join, and if you join it, then this custom transaction is triggered. It updates the proposal with a status update, and it updates the address book with the addresses. And then both are stored on the blockchain, of course. So how does it look like on the blockchain? Like this. And the updated address book account looks like this. So on the right side, you see the assets, the name of the DAO, the type of the transaction address book, nonce, addresses, and the members. So you see 2 members with a nonce of 0, and you see 1 member of a nonce of 1, and that's the difference. If we created a proposal with a nonce of 0, then the member with the nonce of 1 cannot cast his vote on that proposal. So that was my short presentation of the DAO and the custom transactions. I hope it was understandable, and we have the proof of concept online, the blog online, GitHub is open. And if you have any questions or any more specific questions or details you would like to know, just post them on the Discord.
Yes.
And I think Peter is going to close off the presentation with a little bit more.
Yes, I think we do have to do it in parallel. When questions coming in from Discord, questions and answers, we try to answer them. Perfect.
Yes.
Because I just want to finish with one last slide and subject. This is a tricky part, technology. Go back to presentation.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Does this work? Yes. Yeah. So another technical hurdle taken. Okay, the last subject, last slide. So we learned about an interest group, proposals and votes. And what are our next steps or our planned next steps? Creating more building blocks or
Yes.
improving this one.
Yes.
Yeah, as I said, this particular proof of concept has some characteristics with which you can't or can agree, but we like to improve it, and especially with partners. We are having meetings with the municipality of Utrecht, and it says a question mark, but our interest is in this building block already. So as simple as it is. So it would be very nice when we go in public with our proof of concept and a pilot, with the aim to improve it.
Yes.
As we say on the bottom, we have built something, now we want to learn, and we want to improve, to work towards our envisioned future of an inclusive, distributed governance supported by blockchain. Yes? Perfect. So do we have questions coming in? Remarks, tips, tricks, suggestions? I'm happy to hear them and invite you to post them, but also perhaps join us in our road to improve our DAO.
Yeah.
So feel free, feel invited to join us, and when you see opportunities, please let us know as well.
Yes. So because we are actually searching, not searching for, but we are going to build another building block, and then we will add it to this one, and
yes,
slowly we will build like a full-blown platform, but block by block.
Yes, and perhaps we donated the code to the Lisk community. When you have ideas for a building block yourself, we can also use it as an add-on.
Yeah.
And improve the DAO together as a worldwide initiative.
So thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
And I'm curious if there are any questions. So are there any questions, or otherwise we will just wrap up and be back next week? Not.
Yeah, can somebody moet ik Discord channel?
Daar kan ik wel klikken, ja. Very interesting implementation. Yes, so in this case, the code is available on GitHub, only the backend, because we used a template. Next iteration will also be the front end, of course, because we are like creating open front ends too from now on.
Yeah, we chose a template because to speed up the development. But
Yeah.
in the future, we can make open source.
Our next
front end.
proof of concept is already fully open source, also the front end, so we will use those building blocks again. How are you going to protect against the spamming of votes from the same person? Good question. Are we going to protect spamming of votes from the same person?
Yeah, in the future, when you work with ballots, you have a billet for a ticket to vote, and you can only use it once.
Yeah.
And I did, as I told, I was involved at the blockchain lab at the University of Applied Science in Utrecht. We work with ring signatures. So you give ballots to the persons in the address book, but
Yeah.
you don't know to whom you distribute which ballot. You don't know who posted which one back. So, but we were it was also proof of concept. But yeah, perhaps we can use those learnings and those coding as well.
Yeah. So in the future, it will be we could introduce the ballot.
Yeah.
And we can implement it through ring signature so that everybody can vote anonymous.
Yes,
that's the idea.
That's going to be a way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea. Second question from Andro. Can voting weight from DAOs be used for a proposal on the platform? You mentioned that voting weight can take a role in a proposal, but I can imagine that voting weight from a account on the DAO chain itself does not share similar interests as the voting weight on, for instance, the Arcado blockchain. Do you understand the question?
I think so. I hope I connect to your question. Yeah, when you are participating in different DAOs, in my opinion, your voting weight depends on a certain DAO. So the voting weight you have gained in one DAO, you can't use in another DAO, because voting weight is how do you call it in English? Is a way to express how much you contributed to the certain community, and a supporting DAO. So, in my opinion, voting weight has always something to do with the how much value you have added to a certain community.
Yes. So currently there's not a specific implementation of it in our project.
No.
But in the future, it would make sense to say if you earn voting weight in a certain DAO, then it remains within the DAO.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe unless another DAO says your voting weight in that DAO, part of our voting.
Yeah.
But that would be
voting weight is very tricky because you want to have a kind of power balance in the community, and when somebody gets a lot of power, it can disrupt the community. So you have, I think you need good algorithms to award voting weight and also subtract voting weight when you are not active anymore. So it's not for eternity. Once you gain some voting weight and reputation, it's not forever.
Yeah, so it could diminish over time, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tom says strongly agree on that. I think he agrees with you.
Ah, nice.
Any other questions?
And the last comment, I agree. This is not only a technical trick. We believe in some kind of governance. That's why we're building this, and not to introduce new ways, automated ways to remain keep the same mechanisms that we already have.
Yeah. So you already said before that voting can be the end of a process, actually, or
Yes.
is the end of a process.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
That is a good question. Voting, the quality of voting depends on the knowledge and the knowledge sharing between partners, between participants, I mean. So just vote one yes or no because you feel like yes is better than no. It's not giving you good results. So we are already discussed, should campaigning also be part of voting? And in the campaigning process, you can share ideas, and that will improve the quality of the end result.
Yeah. So you have to talk, and people have to understand if they cast a vote, actually.
Yes.
Otherwise,
yes.
the vote doesn't make sense.
Yes. And it must be open to what other people think.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go, probably.
Yeah, to make a better world.
Yeah. So I think if there are no more questions, then we will wrap it up. And I will thank you all. And I also would like to thank Peter for the presentation. And we really much liked working together. And
Yes.
we probably are going to work together in the future too.
Yeah.
Especially if we have some partners.
Yes. And partners in the field, but also perhaps partners from the Lisk community.
Yes.
So you are very much invited to join us.
Thank you. Then we'll wrap it up and we'll see you next week. And one thing, I also just learned that we have a new community hero, which is Lisk Japan. So I wanted to celebrate that too. So.
And we have the DAO meeting this evening.
Oh, yes. And if you would like to know more about Pi DAO, it's a DAO on Ethereum. And we have Utrecht Blockchain Nights this evening. Join us in the Lisk Center Utrecht Discord. And we have an interview with Mick de Graaf. So it's
8:00 p.m.
8:00 p.m. Yes. We need to be here more often together.
Yes.
Heb je hem afgesloten? Thank you.